What is economics? What is economy? Is economics a social science? What is its relevance in UPSC exams? If it is so important, then what is the nature and scope of economics? Hello and welcome. I am Dr. Nazma from the Department of Social Sciences and Humanities, VFSTR. So today we are going to dig in what is economics, what is economy. Before getting into the topic, let's see the importance or relevance of UPSC exams or the importance of economics in UPSC exams. Economics, as we say, is a concept-based, theory-based social science subject. In UPSC exams, we'll be dealing with economy, which is not theoretical, but it is application-based. So we'll use all the concepts of economics to apply in real-life situations, especially in Indian economy, because that's where the questions are going to come for the exam. So basically, we have Indian economy, public finance, and developmental economics topics in UPSC exams. So here we are going to look at the relevance, how it is, because economics is a very highly scoring subject and it has overlap with the current affairs also. It has multidisciplinary approach in exams as well. So in economics, we have different topics which are conceptual and current affairs related. Important topics or key topics in UPSC economy would be inflation, GDP, banking and budget, external sector, schemes and reports of governments and non-governmental organizations. Then in mains, general studies 3, you have key areas such as growth and development, agriculture and infrastructure, fiscal policy and liberalization. All these are linked to GS1, GS2 and ethics. Then in essay type questions, you will be having topics such as inclusive growth, poverty and inequality, globalization debate, environment and employment. In interview, you will be getting something like this. You will have questions on current economic issues, budget and reforms, welfare and growth. Let's move on. What is economics? You might be wondering what is the difference between economics and economy. Economics is a concept, a social science discipline, wherein we'll be studying about the theories and different concepts, whereas economy, which we study in UPSC, is all about application, how we are going to apply these concepts in real life situation, especially in Indian economy. Coming to the definitions of economics, there are different types of definitions given by classical economists and neoclassical economists. The first one would be given by the father of economics, Adam Smith. So Adam Smith gives lot of importance to wealth, acquiring wealth. In his book, An Inquiry into the Nation and Causes of Wealth of Nation, he talks about how to acquire wealth, and he also talks about economics as a science of wealth, right? So then we have Alfred Marshall's definition. Alfred Marshall talks about welfare. He also talks about well-being, not just welfare. He not only talks about wealth, but also welfare. So in the third definition given by Lionel Robbins, it is one of the most popular definitions in economics. He says that human wants are unlimited, but the resources to satisfy those wants are limited. So this is the crux, basically, crux of economics, where we see that human wants, by basic human nature, human being has lots of wants, and these wants have to be satisfied by limited resources. That's what Lionel Robbins says. And in the fourth definition, this definition is called growth definition, and growth definition is given by Paul Samuelson. It is a combination of Marshall's definition and Robbins' definition, that is welfare definition and scarcity definition, in which he talks about having welfare, and also the welfare has to be done within the scarce means, which has unlimited ends, unlimited wants. So Paul Samuelson talks about Robbins' definition. Along with that, he talks about the relationship in a long run. He talks about future, and he talks about future consumption. Coming to a comprehensive definition which we are using, is economics is a social science. Yeah, what is social science? Social science is a systematic study of different disciplines. These could be about the cultures, these could be about the behaviors, these could be about the ideas. Yes, so along with economics, there are many other disciplines which we can see like psychology, sociology, history, political science. These are different social sciences. Why economics is called as the queen of social sciences? Because it deals with the fundamental needs of human beings. It talks about the fundamental necessities of a human being. So, economics is a social science, that is a systematic study of the society. We talk about the interactions which happen in the society. That is why we call it as a social science. So, like many other social sciences, economics also is a social science. So, economics is a social science that analyzes production, consumption and distribution of goods and services or resources. So, what is a production? We will come to that in the next slide. Production, consumption and distribution of resources. So, economics not just talks about monetary resources or just money, it talks about resources as a whole, physical resources, human resources, financial resources. So, all these resources in terms of different goods and services, that is what is the subject matter of economics. Then, what is the core focus of economics? It studies how people make choices to satisfy their unlimited wants within their scarce resources. The resources are very scarce, so how are they going to satisfy these unlimited wants is the basic economic problem. Then we will also learn about, is economics an art or a science? We are saying that economics is a social science. Society has a lot of beliefs, lots of opinions, ideas, and science is something which is fact based. So, is it a combination of art or science, or is it just an art, or is it just an science? Let us see. So, the nature of economics, economics is a science in terms like, for example, for physical sciences, in physical science we see the third law of Newton, which says every action has an equal and opposite reaction. It is a universal fact which cannot be changed. In the same manner, in microeconomics, we have a law of demand which says as price increases, demand decreases, and it is a universal fact, we cannot change it. So, in the same manner, if we say like science, economic laws, economic laws are universal in nature, and economics verifies the facts and information like science, okay, with evidences, and all this is done in a systematic manner. So, science is a systematic study. So, economics also has this aspect of systematic study. Then, economics does a systematic investigation, and the laws of economics determine cause and effect relationships. For example, in physical science we have said that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So, every action is the cause and equal and opposite reaction is the effect. In the same manner, in economics, as demand or as the price increases, increase in the price is the cause and effect is the reduction in the demand for that particular product. So, the cause and effect relationships also are explained in economics. That is one reason that economics could be called as a science. So, economics is a science in some ways. Next, coming to the arts part, where we can see art is nothing but ideas, opinions, beliefs, policies, decisions, skills, all these we call as art. There is some sort of judgment in it, there is some sort of opinion in it. So, economics also is an art because these certain policies which we make are value based, are moral value based, ethic based, and certain decisions which we take are skill based. So, economics applies various ideas. If we have a problem, these ideas we can generate solutions from that. So, based upon the situations, based upon the problems, we generate different types of solutions for these problems. So, various problems, so get to optimal utility. So, economics teaches us how to solve the problems of the society. It directly involved in the solution of the problems, and economics, because of its practical implementation, it is called as a art. So, economics, in conclusion, we can say that economics is both an art and a science, because both science and art complement each other. For example, if we are collecting data related to some unemployment issue, the end result would be the government would collect the data related to unemployment and then formulate a policy to reduce the unemployment problem in the country. So, collecting the data and coming up with different evidences, in fact, is a science aspect, a science perspective, a scientific perspective, and using different sorts of ideas, opinions and policy making, decision making, all these is the art, the perspective of having a art. So, yes, economics is a beautiful mixture. It's an amalgamation of both science and art. Now, coming to the other subject matter where we see economics as positive economics and normative economics. What is positive economics? For example, as a student, if we are talking about a student, for example, you yourself, what are your characteristics or what are your features as a student? How good are you? Like, are you obedient? Are you disciplined? Are you studious? If you are studious, to what percentage? If you are disciplined, how disciplined you are? Okay? All these are facts about yourself that you state. As a teacher, for example, the characteristics of a teacher for me and the ideal characteristics are different. No, a teacher has to have certain characteristics. These characteristics come under normative approach, and how I am as a teacher comes under positive. For example, when it comes to economics, we can say positive economics is how we are and how we should be is a normative. What is and what ought to be. What is positive approach and what ought to be is a normative approach. Then the nature of positive economics is objective, without any bias, without any prejudice, without any judgment. When it comes to normative economics is subjective, value based, opinion based. Then the method here for positive economics is, it is testable and evidence based, fact based, and the method which we apply in normative economics is opinion. We use our opinion, we use our judgment. And then what are the examples for positive economics? For positive economics, the best example, for example, here inflation is 8%. For example, India's inflation rate is 8%, is a fact which is there. But what is the ideal or how a country's inflation rate should be? Ideally, a country's inflation rate should be less than 3%. So having less than 3% inflation rate is normative in its approach, and the fact which states that India's inflation rate, for example, is 8% is fact based, which is a positive approach. And one more example, higher taxes reduces income. So as we tax more, the income or the disposable income with the person will reduce. In a similar fashion, if the government, we always dream that we should have, as a country, as a person, we have very less taxes or no taxes at all. So that would be a normative way of looking or normative approach of looking into something. So, and one more thing also, we can say that free education, free health care, that is what we think ideally a country or the government should give. So that becomes a normative, how a country's healthcare or how a country's education should be or ought to be, and how the present situation is, comes under positive approach. So we'll look into a few more examples in positive and normative economics and positive economics, there is a 12% unemployment rate in the country. That is, it states a fact. Positive economics, in positive economics, it is all about, it's stating a fact, which is 12% unemployment rate is prevailing in the country. On the other hand, 12% unemployment rate is too high. So what does the government has to do? Because ideally, the unemployment rate should be very less, but here there is unemployment 12%. So what should ideally a government do? It should generate some employment opportunities in order to reduce the unemployment. One more example I'd like to give is the taxes on tobacco should be doubled. Then there will be a substantial decrease in the consumption. This is a positive statement wherein we talk about the taxes on tobacco should be doubled. But ideally, because tobacco is harmful for health because it leads to chronic diseases, ideally, how it should be? The total, there should be 100% taxation on tobacco. So these are two statements wherein we see the positive statement, and that is a normative statement. And these two are examples of positive economics and normative economics. Positive economics, we are talking about how the unemployment rate is and how it should be. We spoke about the inflation rate also. So these are different examples wherein the positive economics, we talk about how a situation is and how a situation should be, or how a entity is or how a entity should be. This is positive and that is normative approach. Then we'll move on to the central problems of economics. What are the central problems of economics? From time immemorial, from the stage of early man until now, until modern man, the only problem which we see for a person is having unlimited wants and the resources are very less. The scarcity is there, the problem of scarcity is there. So right from the early man stage to the modern man, we see that. So the basic nature of human wants is this: one want ends, one want is satisfied, another want props up. So in order to satisfy these unlimited wants with his limited resources, he continuously has to think about what I have to produce, what he has to produce, in how much quantities he has to produce and for whom he has to produce, whether it is for himself or whether it is for the society or whether it is for consumption or production, for himself or for the society. So all these are the different things which are the central problems, we could say. So for whom he has to produce, when he has to think of what he has to produce, for whom he has to produce and how he has to produce, whether he has to produce through labor intensive techniques or capital intensive techniques or a mix of both or something very new and conventional other than these. So these are the fundamental questions or the central problems of economics. Then we move on to another concept which is related. So here we are seeing we have unlimited wants and limited resources, that is leading to a problem called scarcity, which is the basic economic problem, which is the root cause of all economic problems. So scarcity, out of scarcity arises choices. Okay? So every person has to choose between, in his limited resources, he has to choose which one he gives more preference to in order to satisfy his wants. For example, if a student has 1000 rupees as his pocket money, he has to choose between whether to buy a new pair of shoes or whether to buy a good book or a couple of books. So every time, not just a student, not just a teacher, even the richest man on the earth has this basic problem of scarcity. Even people like Elon Musk will have this problem. Even though, they have unlimited wants, but they have to be satisfied with these limited resources. That is the basic economic problem or the central problems of economics. So out of choices, we have what to produce, how to produce, and for whom should we produce. Next, we will move on to the scope of economics. Since we are talking so much about economics, what does it contain? What do we see in economics? What are the different things that we experience in economics as a discipline? So let's see. Economics as a social science. As you know, economics is a social science. It studies about the interactions in the society, systematic study of beliefs, cultures and interactions of people, because society is people. So, we are talking about the behavior, the culture, the interactions of different people. So, economics is a social science and it studies human economic activities such as earning income and spending money to satisfy wants. So, economics deals with earning income, spending money to satisfy wants. Then, economics talks about resources and wealth. So, as Adam Smith said, economics is a science of wealth. So, economic talks about availability of resources, availability of wealth, use and management of resources, and then economics talks about scarcity and choice. So, why there is scarcity, and out of scarcity the choices arise. So, how are we going to make our choices? So, which have alternative uses. Then human wants are unlimited, but the resources are scarce. The fourth point is economic activities. What are the economic activities which we know, which we have seen in the definition before? That is production, consumption and distribution. So, economic activities like production, exchange, distribution, consumption, along with related areas like money, banking, trade, public finance, economic planning, all these come under the scope of economics. Then we have the other point is economic problems and solutions. For every economic problem, there are some solutions. So, economics analyzes these problems, suggests some solutions based on the human behavior and value judgments, and we decide based on that. So, this is broadly the scope of economics, wherein economics is a very, very broad discipline. The crux of all that I have presented over here, that is the scope of economics under 5 headings. Next, we will move on to another concept called micro and macroeconomics. What are these microeconomics and macroeconomics? Basically, economics is divided into 2 branches. One is micro, another one is macro. Micro is a study of human beings in economic activities at individual level. For example, microeconomics studies about households, the behavior of human beings in households, how they behave in different economic activities, the behavior of the producer, how a firm behaves. All these we study in economics at a micro level. Okay. The I, which stands in economics, we can use it as a point of remembrance, or we can remember microeconomics as I as in micro as individual level, and A as in macro as aggregate. Okay. So, microeconomics deals with individual level activities, the behavior of human being at individual levels, for example, households and firms and other individual agents, whereas macroeconomics studies about the overall performance of an economy, wherein we study about the aggregates, not at a micro level. The aggregates could be, for example, in microeconomics, individual level demand, individual consumption, the production of a producer, the demand and supply of a particular good, we call it as, all these are examples of microeconomics. And for macroeconomics, we have unemployment, income, national income, and inflation, growth, economic growth and economic development. All these are macro concepts. So, we are not studying about smaller concepts or micro level concepts like in microeconomics. We will be dealing with an economy, the problems of economy, the issues in an economy as a whole. That means the overall performance of the economy, that is what we see in macroeconomics. In microeconomics, we see the consumption of the individual, how he behaves in different situations. When the price increases, how he behaves, when the price decreases, how an individual behaves, and what is the equilibrium level of the consumer, what is the equilibrium level of a producer, where does he get maximum profits. All these we study in microeconomics, and in macroeconomics we study about the level of inflation, we study about the economic growth, economic development, unemployment, poverty, all these at a larger level. So, coming to the microeconomics, we will see all these topics one by one. It studies about the individual units. Microeconomic studies about the individual units, whereas macroeconomic studies about the whole economy. Yeah, and microeconomic studies about marginal analysis, whereas macroeconomic studies about the problems of the whole economy. For example, public finance, unemployment, national income. So, microeconomics provides information relating to the individual prices and individual consumption and individual production, whereas macroeconomics provides the information related to national income, total output, total consumption, etc., general price level. Then microeconomics analysis is simple, whereas macroeconomics analysis is complicated or complex. Then microeconomics particularly focuses on price analysis, and macroeconomics particularly focuses on income. Then microeconomics studies individual problems, and it is less important for comparative study, whereas macroeconomics, we compare our economy with other economies, and we try to, if we are less developed, we try to develop it more, and then macroeconomic studies about the problems related to the economy as a whole. So, this is microeconomics and macroeconomics. These two are not different from each other. Basically, they are like, basically microeconomics and macroeconomics are two sides of a same coin. They are complementary to each other. Without understanding microeconomics, we cannot understand macroeconomics, and without having a bird's eye view picture like macroeconomics, we cannot look into what is there, what are the problems, overall problems of an economy. So, these two are complementary to each other. Let us understand this with yet another example here. Here you can see in this picture there is a buffet which is going on. So, one side we can see different kinds of dishes plated, and microeconomics is the total food supply, or microeconomics deals with the health of the diners who are dining in that particular buffet, and microeconomics deals with a person's choices which are scarce, with even though the resources here are more, but the plate which he is carrying is scarce. He cannot carry much more than that, and he cannot eat more than that. So, he has to make choices whether he has to have biryani, or does he have to eat salad, or a mix of both, or something else. So, this is a picture of an economy wherein we find the problem of scarcity. We also understand the economy at a micro level and also at a macro level. So, I hope you have understood these basic issues of what is the nature of economics, what is the scope of economics, what are the branches of economics. So, we'll in the next upcoming video we'll be discussing about few more topics in which are related to UPSC examinations. Here I'd like to add one more point. Without understanding the basic concepts of economics, it is difficult to write analytical based questions or application based questions. So, thank you all for your time. See you in the next video.